Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to InkDependence.com. Today we are looking at this ink. This is Jungle Volcano from a brand that is new to this channel. This was given to me by Tom Otto at InkJournal. You can find them at InkJournal.com. I use their ink journals and that sort of thing in every one of these ink videos because I like them a lot. And I saw them at the Philly Pen Show, and Tom's like, hey, check out this crazy ink. This is a Krishna ink. I had not even heard of Krishna inks before, but apparently they're pretty common over in India. And I hear that these are made by a doctor, so that's kind of neat. This is an ink that comes in a cute little bottle. These aren't particularly expensive either. Get this cap off. Really solid caps. And this is a heavily saturated ink. It is a very interesting orange that's not like any of the other oranges I had available. And as you'll see here in a little bit, it has an absolutely crazy amount of sheen. So if you hate sheen, you are not going to like this bottle, or rather this ink. Also, be aware that sometimes you'll get little tiny flakes of ink from any of these super saturated inks, and that if you get your hands wet while you have these little spots on it, this stuff will turn right back into ink. So I'm going to try to get this in my coffee mug and not on my desk where I'll just turn everything orange. Actually, there you go. I just dropped some little tiny drops in there. Those are those little flakes. And now, boom, it turns back into ink. So don't worry about that stuff. It's not going to hurt you, but it might stain you if you are if you have it near something you don't want to get ink on. Anyway, so that's enough of this bottle stuff. Here's what the ink looks like. And as you can see there, even just without moving it and just like a little, just my bright studio sort of light coming down on this guy, you can definitely see some of the sheen. Let's go ahead and give it a tilt. There's the jungle, and the volcano bit I think is this lava stuff. And I think actually Tom had a hand in naming this ink, which he's kind of proud of, and I think that's pretty cool. It's a nice name and a really interesting looking ink. So this is what it looks like. Let's go ahead and zoom in just a bit, because why not? It's worth getting close to. This is the Jungle Volcano. There's that sheen again. And then as far as how it works, this is my normal Rhodia paper that I'm writing on here. And I say here that the flow is, pardon me, pretty good once it gets going. Oh, I didn't tell you what I used it in, actually. I used it in two pens. The first one is this one, which is a Lamy LX. This is one of their fancy line of All-Stars. And you can definitely see some orange, I think, here around the lip where it has dried up a little bit. And this is a broad nib, and then this is a Kara's Customs Fountain K. So it has a Bach nib of some kind. I don't know what the size of this nib is because I don't remember what I ordered, and they don't mark their nibs. That is real annoying. So nib makers out there and pen distributors, please use nibs that have the friggin' size on them. I think it's something like a medium, maybe a fine. It's very hard to tell. It's somewhere on the cusp. But I decided to put it in this orange pen just to see how it worked. Because I was actually getting a lot of hard starts with this one. And I said, maybe it's just a broad nib on here. I don't know if the nib's that great. I don't know what the flow's like. I shouldn't have put a new ink in a new pen. But this one I've had for a couple of years, and I know how it works. So I say here that the flow is pretty good once it gets going, and that is true. Once it gets going, it seems fine as long as you keep it going. But this ink does have a tendency to dry up pretty quickly in the nib. It dries fairly quickly on the page, but it also dries up really quickly in the nib. So if you're a person that pauses or whatever, you might have a hard start unless you have a very wet pen. Neither of these are particularly wet. Definitely the Bach nib is a bit wetter than the broad on this Lamy. I might just try to do a little brief writing sample down here at the bottom here in a bit to see if they're working now. I haven't used them in a day or two. So there's no guarantees, but we'll see how it goes. So this might actually be an ink that, like some of these other super sheeny inks, would benefit from just like a drop of water in the converter, or just a tiny amount of water. I didn't want to do that for this review because I'd rather use the ink unadulterated and tell you what it's like without fiddling with it, but that is a total possibility. And if so, then like nitrogen or what's that other, or Walden Pond from Organic Studios, I hear that those benefit from a little drop of water too, so maybe give that a shot. Performance was actually great on copy paper. Here it is. Oops, there we go. So here it is on copy paper. Let's go ahead and scooch out. That's in. There we go. As you can see, there is no feathering, no spreading of any kind. These lines look pretty much the same, although the broad is definitely, I think, broader, but only like a little bit. And then on the back side of the page, absolutely nothing comes through. Ink behaves really well. And this makes me want to try some more Krishna inks. I have a couple over here in my stack that I'm really psyched to try because if they work this well on copy paper and they'll actually keep flowing because it's not going to be super sheeny, that would be great. And I'm looking forward to trying that. So check out these Krishna inks wherever you can find them. I would say start at InkJournal. They carry a few. Then there are other vendors that have them too, I believe. And then as far as qualities, tons of sheen, just a lot of sheen here on the Rhodia paper, and a lot of sheen actually even on the notebook paper and on the other papers I used. You can't stop this thing from sheening. And then here, and you'll find more still pictures and close-ups and that sort of thing at inkdependence.com. Here are the writing samples of those two pens, and they're fine as long as it keeps writing. That's the only issue with this ink, is that sometimes it just stops. So let's see if these are actually working or not. So I'm actually kind of sitting catty corner, so we'll have to see how this goes. Yeah, see, it's sort of stopped already. Yep. Doesn't want to work right now. Oh, well, there we go. We got it going? Nope, not quite. Yeah. Actually, it's reverse writing, but it's not coming out the bottom. That's annoying. Hold on one sec. This is actually, if you want to know the secrets of the pros, this is a reason I have this little inkwell sitting here. It's usually full of water, and I clean it out all the time. But just what I did is I just went bloop and just touched the tip of the nib into the water, and now it's just fine. You're getting great flow now. So you just have to rehydrate it a little bit. And now I've got a little bit of orange, just a little tiny speck of orange. All right, let's see if it works from the Keras Customs. Yeah, there we go. I was a little bit hesitant at the beginning, as just even this little tiny line, but once it gets going, no problem. So it works a little bit better in this one because it's wetter. So I would say put this in a big wet nib if you can. This nib I think is just a little bit dry and it tends to dry out more quickly. So there you go. All right, let's do a little bit of water testing here, just to see how this works out. Here comes the water. I'm not expecting any real water resistance here, but you never know, so let's take a look. I actually heard from someone that these Krishna inks just across the line are not very water resistant, and I wouldn't be shocked. Remember, water resistance is not one of those things that everybody cares about, but for some people it is absolutely very important. So, yeah, man, look at that. Yeah, so a lot of orange is already gone. Just drag that off there, and then we'll dab it with another corner. There we go. Whoops. I don't want to get it on my desk. So I'm being very careful here. Of course, I've already gotten it on the other sheet of Rhodia underneath, but there you go. All right. So, yeah, it's a mess. This is just a mess. A mess of orange came up. It made a mess on the page. This is pretty well illegible. So don't get water near this guy because it will not work out well. All right, let's look at the chromatography. And here you go. Let's go ahead and turn it this way. You know what this is about. Here, down at the bottom is where I had that line go through. And as you can see in the chromatography, I actually had a little bit of trouble getting it started there too. And then you have this really beautiful like flame pattern that comes up. A little bit of pink left down at the bottom. And that's actually kind of what you saw here as well. You see a little bit of a pink undertone that's just sitting there at the very bottom while everything else leaves. So all the orange and red and like this nice like coppery color sort of comes right off of it. I think that's actually a really beautiful chromatography, but that also means it's not going to be water resistant. So there you go. All right. One thing I forgot to do is take a look at any other papers. So while it works great on that 20-pound Staples paper, here it is in an Inky Fingers currently inked notebook. As you can see there, no problems here either. Of course, it's not going to bleed through this stuff. It's not going to bleed through 20 pound. I think it looks pretty good here. You get a little bit of sheen, but not a huge amount, actually. Maybe less sheen than on the other. Maybe it soaked up the ink a little bit more quickly. I'm not really sure. But you do get some, as you can see here. There it is. Yeah, it's a little flash of it, but it's not terrible on this paper. You can definitely see the orange, which, as you'll see in a sec, that is not always the case. And then this is an InkJournal from InkJournal.com, where I got this ink. And this is Tomoe River paper. I'm looking for the right page. I have it marked. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so there it is in both of these. And you can see I actually inked it up in the Lamy about a month before I put it in the Karas Customs. Just because I kept using it in this Lamy and it kept stopping up and I kept refilling it because I really like this orange. It's really cool, and once it gets going, it's great. But man, if it stops up, and it does stop up quite a lot in that pen, it's a pain in the ass. So I went ahead and put it in this Karas Customs Fountain K, and where I think it looks beautiful and works pretty well. I haven't had too many stops with the Fountain K. That one usually kind of keeps going. All right, so let's look at some color comparisons. Here is the Jungle Volcano all on its own. This is the color ring card. And you can see all that gold sheen. Look at that huge amount of gold sheen that comes through on there, especially where it pooled down there at the bottom right. And so I actually had a bit of a trouble matching this ink at all because there's so much darn sheen that I almost can't tell what color to match it to. So here it is with some other oranges. This one is Noodler's Golden Aspen, which was for the Denver Pen Show in 2017. And I actually like this one quite a lot. I've got it in a pen right now. I've been enjoying it. And then this one is Irishizuku's Yuyaki, which a lot of people like a lot. I haven't really tried it in a pen, I don't think, but it looks pretty good. And the thing to notice is I'm trying to match it to like the orange that's holding up right in there. And I think Golden Aspen is actually kind of close to this orange. So if you're looking for that orange without all this huge amount of green sheen, you want just the Volcano and not the Jungle. Maybe Noodler's Golden Aspen is an idea. Here are a couple more. This is Namasini's Solar Storm 1859, which I need to review soon. It's kind of close. It's a little bit more red. Similarly, this is Private Reserve's Orange Crush, which is definitely worth a look as well, but it's much darker, I think. So they're both more red, I think, and a bit darker than the Jungle, or rather than the Volcano part. And then here is one last one, and this is actually my current favorite orange. I really like Ackerman's Orange Bovin, but for me right now, Diamine Pumpkin is really fitting the bill, and also it's a lot cheaper than the Ackerman version. And I think that the orange in here is pretty close to the orange that you get just in this little center bit where the sheen didn't come through as much. So maybe definitely check out Diamine Pumpkin if you're an orange fan, because this ink is really rad. All right, so this has been Krishna's Jungle Volcano. This is a cool ink that is a little bit hard to find sometimes. Not very many vendors actually carry it, so do your homework online. You'll find the vendors. This was sent out or given to me, I guess, in person by Tom Otto from InkJournals. Definitely also check out InkJournals, because, man, if you're like me and you have a ton of pens inked up at any one time, you need that journal to be able to look back and tell what in the heck is in this pen. All right, so that's that. I am Mike. This is Ink Dependence. Thank you again to Tom Otto and InkJournal for giving me this bottle of Jungle Volcano. Thanks to all of my patrons and to all of my future patrons. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, etc. for the YouTubes, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.